There's a country in the heart of Europe that gave the world the automobile, the printing press, and engineering so precise it became a global standard. A place where innovation runs in the national bloodstream. And yet, hiding in the decade of big hair and neon lights, Germany produced some of the most spectacular product failures anyone has ever seen. Because the 1980s were not just about economic miracles and Autobahn speed. They were also about misread markets, stubborn decisions, and technologies so ahead of their time that the world simply was not ready. And some, let us be honest, were disasters from the very beginning. What makes these failures fascinating is not just that they flopped, it is that many came from companies that had already conquered the world. They had the resources, the reputation, and the engineering talent to succeed. And yet, product after product crashed into obscurity while foreign competitors swept up the market. Some of these disasters cost billions. Others became jokes that Germans still laugh about today. A few even symbolize the collapse of an entire political system. So what went wrong? The answers reveal everything about ambition, timing, and what happens when German precision meets brutal market reality. And that is where things get really interesting, because the first failure on this list was not just a product gone wrong. It was a full-scale format war that Germany was destined to lose. In 1979, Grundig and Philips teamed up to create what they believed would be the ultimate home video format. Video 2000 promised superior picture quality, double-sided cassettes that could record up to 8 hours, and a feature called dynamic track. Following that eliminated the annoying tracking problems VHS users had to deal with constantly. On paper, it was the superior system. Engineers across Europe agreed. The technology was brilliant, but technology alone does not win format wars. VHS had already secured deals with movie studios. Rental stores were stocking Japanese systems. And most importantly, Video 2000 launched only in Europe, while VHS went global. By the mid-1980s, Grundig's flagship product was nicknamed Carrier Pigeon because units kept returning to service centers. The complicated electronics caused endless problems, and consumers who tried the system quickly gave up. By 1988, the format was dead. The recorders became collector's items, curiosities from an era when Germany thought superior engineering was enough to win. Spoiler alert, it was not. Before the internet, there was Bildschirm text. Launched nationwide in 1983, BTX was Germany's answer to the digital future. The concept was ahead of its time. Users could check bank accounts, book vacations, send messages, and access information from home using a special terminal connected to their television. The German post office promoted it heavily, convinced that millions would sign up. But there was a problem. The equipment was expensive, the usage fees were high, and the service was painfully slow by any standard. By 1986, only about 50,000 subscribers had signed up in a country of over 50 million people. And then came the hackers. In 1984, members of the Chaos Computer Club exploited a security flaw to steal funds from a Hamburg bank using the BTX system. They returned the money, but the damage was done. The supposedly secure service had been exposed as vulnerable. Meanwhile, France's similar Minitel system was thriving because the government gave terminals away for free. BTX limped along for years, eventually morphing into an early internet service. But the dream of a German digital revolution had crashed into reality long before the World Wide Web made everything obsolete. Number 13. HiCom. Telefunken's HiCom noise reduction system was genuinely impressive. Developed in the late 1970s and marketed through the 1980s, it offered up to 20 decibels of noise reduction for cassette recordings, blowing Dolby B out of the water in terms of performance. Audiophiles loved it. The technology worked beautifully, and absolutely nobody outside of Europe cared. Dolby had already established itself as the global standard. Every major cassette deck manufacturer was building Dolby compatibility into their products. Music labels recorded with Dolby. Consumers expected Dolby. Hi-Com, despite being technically superior, required special equipment that most people simply did not have. Nakamichi tried to help, producing Hi-Com 2 units that pushed the technology even further. But by the time Hi-Com reached its final form, digital audio was already on the horizon. The cassette tapes' days were numbered, and with them, any chance that a German noise reduction format could challenge Dolby's dominance. Today, Hi-Com decks are sought after by collectors. In the 1980s, they represented yet another case of German engineering arriving too late with too little market support. Number 12. The Trabant. Let's talk about East Germany's most famous contribution to automotive history. A car so legendary in its awfulness that it became a symbol for everything wrong with communist central planning. The Trabant 601 had been rolling off assembly lines since 1964, and by the 1980s, it was hopelessly, almost comically, outdated. While West German engineers were developing fuel injection and aerodynamic designs, the Trabant still ran on a smoky two-stroke engine that produced just 26 horsepower. Its body was made of Duraplast, a material combining cotton waste and resin, which led to endless jokes about the car being made of cardboard. There was no fuel gauge, no tachometer, no air conditioning. Drivers had to mix gasoline and oil manually and pour it into a tank under the hood. New buyers faced waiting lists of up to 13 years, and used Trabants often sold for more than new ones simply because they were actually available. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, images of Trabants sputtering across the border became iconic. Within months, East Germans were abandoning them on roadsides in favor of proper Western vehicles. The spark plug with a roof had become an international joke, the ultimate symbol of a failed economic system. Number 11. Grundig's decline. In 1980, Grundig was still one of Europe's most respected electronics manufacturers. By 1989, the company was bleeding money and facing an existential crisis. What happened? Japanese competition happened. Sony, Panasonic, and other Asian manufacturers flooded European markets with cheaper products that matched or exceeded German quality. Grundig's premium pricing strategy, which had worked for decades, suddenly looked outdated. The Video 2000 disaster had cost the company dearly. Attempts to compete in the computer market failed. Internal management decisions prioritized outdated production methods over the modernization that could have kept the company competitive. The decade ended with Dutch giant Philips gradually absorbing Grundig's independence, a slow corporate death that would culminate in bankruptcy in 2003. But the 1980s were where the rot truly set in, transforming one of Germany's proudest brands into a cautionary tale about what happens when a company fails to adapt. Number 10. CNET's mobile phones. Germany's first true cellular network launched in 1985, and CNET's was supposed to bring mobile communication to the masses. Instead, it became a luxury toy for executives and the extremely wealthy. The phones were enormous, often requiring their own carrying cases. Service was spotty outside major cities, and the costs were absolutely astronomical. Typical CNET's phones could cost several thousand Deutsche Marks, and per-minute charges made even short calls expensive. Average Germans could not justify the expense when landlines worked perfectly well. The network never achieved the subscriber numbers its backers had projected. By the time more affordable digital networks arrived in the early 1990s, CNETs had become an embarrassment, a reminder that being first does not matter if your product is priced beyond anyone's reach. Triumph Adler had been a respected name in German office equipment for decades. Typewriters, calculators, adding machines, they had it covered. So when personal computers started appearing in offices, the company naturally assumed it could compete. The Alphatronic series launched with high hopes. These were solid machines built to German quality standards, designed for business applications, but they were also expensive, underpowered compared to American alternatives, and supported by software libraries that could not compete with IBM compatibles or even Apple. By the mid-1980s, Triumph Adler's computer division was struggling. The company that had dominated German offices with mechanical precision could not translate that success into the digital age. They eventually retreated to what they knew best: office equipment and supplies, leaving the computer market to companies that had actually understood what customers wanted. Number 8. Sinalco's Cola Wars. Sinalco had been making soft drinks in Germany since 1905. When Coca-Cola and Pepsi started dominating global markets, the company tried to fight back with its own cola variations. Throughout the 1980s, Sinalco attempted to position itself as the German alternative, the patriotic choice for consumers who wanted to support local industry. The products were decent enough, but decent does not beat decades of marketing brilliance and global brand recognition. German consumers, particularly younger ones, associated American colas with coolness, with movies, with international culture. Sinalco's regional appeal simply could not compete with that kind of emotional connection. The company survived, focusing on other beverages and niche markets, but the dream of a German cola challenging American giants died somewhere in the 1980s, crushed under the weight of billions in advertising dollars and brand power that no amount of German quality could overcome. Number 7. East German Consumer Electronics. VEB Robotron and VEB Stern Radio, the state-owned electronics manufacturers of East Germany, produced an astonishing variety of products throughout the 1980s. Radios, televisions, calculators, even computers, all carried the promise of socialist engineering excellence. And almost all of them were disasters by Western standards. Chronic shortages of components forced engineers to use outdated parts. Quality control was inconsistent at best. Designs that might have been acceptable in the 1960s sounded absurdly primitive by 1985. The KC85 computer series, East Germany's attempt at a home computer, required users to deal with constant quirks and limitations that Western equivalents had solved years earlier. When reunification came, East German electronics became worthless overnight. No one wanted products that were a decade behind current technology, no matter how cheap they became. Another proud name in German electronics history, Nordmende, had built its reputation on quality televisions and radios. The 1980s destroyed everything. Like Grundig, Nordmende could not compete with Japanese pricing. Like Grundig, management decisions failed to anticipate how quickly the market was changing. And like Grundig, the company found itself squeezed between falling prices and rising production costs that its premium German manufacturing simply could not match. By 1987, Nordmende was essentially finished as an independent company. The brand would change hands multiple times, eventually becoming little more than a label slapped on products manufactured elsewhere. The factories that had employed thousands of skilled German workers fell silent. Another casualty of a decade that reshaped the global electronics industry while Germany watched helplessly. Number 5. The Wartburg 1.3. East Germany's other car, the Wartburg, received a significant update in 1988 when engineers finally replaced its prehistoric two-stroke engine with a Volkswagen four-stroke unit. The Wartburg 1.3 was supposed to represent a new beginning, proof that East German industry could modernize and compete. It arrived too late. Within months of the Wartburg 1.3's launch, the Berlin Wall fell. Suddenly, East Germans could buy actual Volkswagens, BMW S, and Mercedes. Why would anyone choose a tarted-up relic when Western vehicles were suddenly available? Production limped along until 1991, but the car was dead on arrival. All those years of planning and development, the technology transfers, the factory modifications, everything was rendered pointless by history moving faster than anyone expected. Number 4. German Laserdisc players. Grundig, Telefunken, and other German manufacturers produced Laserdisc players throughout the 1980s, hoping the format would replace VHS for home movie viewing. The picture quality was genuinely impressive. Audiophiles appreciated the superior sound. Collectors loved having physical media that felt substantial and premium, but German players were expensive, often more so than Japanese alternatives. The Laserdisc format itself struggled in Europe because VHS rental culture had already taken hold. Most consumers could not justify spending extra money on equipment for a format that their local video store did not even stock. By the decade's end, German Laserdisc production had largely ceased, another case of quality products without the market support to survive. Number 3. DDR jeans. East Germany desperately wanted to produce fashionable denim that could compete with Western imports. What they created instead became a national joke. The Boxer and Wyzant jeans brands were stiff, uncomfortable, and cut in ways that seemed designed to humiliate anyone who wore them. Young East Germans craved Levi's, wrangling relatives and black market connections for access to genuine American denim. When they could not get the real thing, they suffered through domestic alternatives that marked them instantly as behind the fashion curve. The jeans situation became symbolic of East German consumer frustration. A government that could not produce comfortable pants probably could not manage an economy either. In the late 1980s, as West Germany watched Crystal Pepsi and other clear colas make headlines, East German beverage producers tried their own Crystal Cola variation. Sternquell's attempt was particularly memorable for how badly it missed the mark. The color was off, the taste was strange, and the marketing could not compete with Western alternatives that were suddenly flooding into East German stores anyway. The product disappeared almost immediately after reunification, joining the countless other East German consumer goods that could not survive exposure to actual market competition. Number 1. Afri-Cola's reformulation. Throughout the 1980s, Afri-Cola was West Germany's most successful domestic cola brand. Its distinctive taste, higher caffeine content, and iconic advertising had earned it a devoted following that few European colas could claim. Then the company decided to reformulate. The new recipe was meant to appeal to broader tastes, to challenge Coca-Cola more directly. Instead, it alienated loyal customers who had loved the original. Sales plummeted. The brand that had survived decades of American competition nearly collapsed because of one misguided attempt to change what was already working. The company would eventually return to formulations closer to the original, but the 1980s reformulation remains a cautionary tale about fixing what is not broken. And there you have it, 15 German products from the 1980s that crashed, burned, or simply faded into obscurity, while the rest of the world moved on. From format wars lost to Japanese competitors to East and West contrasts that turned state-made electronics and beverages into symbols of a failing system, the decade was brutal for German manufacturing in ways that the country is still recovering from today. What these failures share is not incompetence. Many of these products were genuinely well engineered. The problem was timing, market understanding, and an assumption that quality alone would guarantee success. The 1980s taught Germany hard lessons about global competition, lessons that would reshape its industries for generations to come. If you enjoyed this deep dive into German product history, make sure to subscribe to Germany Rewind so you never miss another exploration of the stories, products, and people that shape this fascinating country. Hit that notification bell too, because there is always more German history to uncover. And who knows, maybe the next video will feature products that actually succeeded. But where is the fun in that? Because in Germany, even the failures tell unforgettable stories. And those are exactly the stories worth remembering.